Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's session on Zoom in an hour. Oh, let's see. Please let me know at any time if you're not seeing what I think you are. You should be seeing my first PowerPoint slide right now. We are going to take a quick trip through Zoom today. Can't show you every feature in Zoom, but I'm gonna do my best to move right through, show you what Zoom is capable of, and give you basics on how to utilize each of these features. And by the way, I'm Dave Giberson. I'm an old instructional design coordinator at Online Learning Pathways. I've come back. Brian's been kind enough to let me come back and do some of these professional development sessions for you. So it's great to see everyone this morning, see all my old friends in the classified bargaining group there, of which I was a member at one point. And we are going to be looking, moving pretty quickly through this, I should say, but I will do my very best to reserve adequate time at the end for you to ask questions. I don't want anybody to leave wondering about something. You're also always welcome to email me with questions about Zoom or anything else you think I might be able to help with. I'll put my email address, which I am lucky enough to still have from the district. Try to get it right. In the chat tool. So please let me know whenever I can help. Okay, so let's get started. First thing we'll talk about is what you were seeing a moment ago, your Zoom interface. When you pop into a Zoom meeting, this is what you're presented with. Let's talk a little bit about where the different Zoom controls are located. You can get meeting information at any time by clicking on the little shield icon in the upper left-hand corner. That will give you information like the meeting ID, the meeting join link, and whose account is being used to host the session. In the upper right-hand corner, a very important control that you're going to need today, the view control, which allows you to switch between speaker view, where you see whoever's talking more or less full screen, and gallery view, which is the old Hollywood squares.
You can do it at your desk. You can do it at your desk.
Oh, you can do it. Is that what we're doing?
And we're gonna learn how, and I'll show you at some point what I'm doing right now. I just muted everyone. Which we now have 23 people in the meeting, so background noise can be an issue. I'll show you how to do that here in a little while, but you have the right to unmute yourself at any time. Okay, so switching between views is handy. There are times today when I'm going to ask you to switch into speaker view if you're not already there, so that you can see me and what's behind me in full screen. We're always needing the audio controls down here in the lower left, which are built around the little microphone icon. You can click the little right caret just to the right of the microphone icon and get all sorts of audio control features, including which microphone you're using. And of course, you can use the mic by clicking on the microphone. You can mute and unmute yourself. If there's noise in the room where you're attending from, or you just don't want to be heard, you can, of course, mute yourself at any time. You can also control your video, the video that you are sending out, by turning your video on and off, clicking on the little camera icon here, or selecting different video sources. And we'll look at all this. And then, of course, you have your Zoom control menus at the bottom. What you're seeing here is the Zoom host control menu, which is what I'll be showing you in some detail later on. But this is typically, at least, where the Zoom control menus are located, both for participants and for the host. And then a button we won't want to use right away, but will at the end, the button to end the meeting, which can be just as important as figuring out how to start it. So, one of the first things I wanted to talk about today, because I wanted to have it on during the meeting, is Zoom's compelling capability to provide live real-time captioning of all the audio, all the speech in a Zoom meeting. This is initiated using a button in the Zoom that's present in both the host menus and the participant menus. And the host just clicks on the little CC symbol and then enables auto transcription, as you see here. I do have it turned on right now because one of our attendees needs it this morning, and I didn't want to have that turned off at the beginning. But just clicking this button right here will turn it on. And just to share with you how good it is, let me do something I'm going to be doing quite frequently today, which is to share my Zoom screen with you. So now you're seeing exactly what I'm seeing on my Zoom screen. This is a capability that Zoom has that is normally turned off, but there's a setting in your Zoom account management screens on the Zoom website that allows you to enable this capability. There's no particular reason not to. It allows you to then share not just other things that appear on your computer screens with your attendees, but also your actual Zoom menus and so on. So now, when I talk about the audio menus, if I want to show those to you, I can actually bring them up and you can see them. So you can see what I'm doing, and I'll be using that extensively today. This is very handy when you have to show someone how to do something in Zoom while you're in Zoom. So,
sorry, Dave, how many mics was that? Should I even ask? No. Right.
Oh, yeah, just a few microphones on this system. Sometimes things get a little too complicated for my own good. I had to reboot my computer about 10 minutes before the beginning of the meeting because something in all of this interfered with something else. But you can have many audio sources in Zoom and also many video sources. Zoom is extremely flexible in terms of the audio and video inputs it will select, and we'll see some of the consequences of that this morning. The live transcription button is right here. If I just click on that, I will have a button right here that would normally say enable auto transcription. And I just click on that, and then everyone has the option to see live subtitles. I'm showing you mine just to give you an idea of how phenomenally it actually got phenomenally. I'm pretty impressed how phenomenally accurate these captions can be. They are not perfect, but they're really, really good. And it's one of the nicest features that Zoom has added in the last year and a half or so. So these are on right now for anybody who'd like to have them. All you have to do in your case is go to the CC button in your Zoom menu down here, click on it, and you'll have this option I have here to either hide or show subtitles. So these are true closed captions. You can turn them on and off, and quite independent of what anybody else is doing. So you can have your captions running, even though I don't. All right. Now let me share my PowerPoint again. And I'm just bopping back and forth here between which screen I'm sharing. This system I have here has a multiple monitors on it. That's something that's really, really handy if you're going to be doing a lot of originating a lot of Zoom meetings, because it allows you to park windows on other monitors and bring them in when you need to share them with your attendees and so on. It allows you to stage things so that you're not always mucking around and bringing windows up and down from your taskbar on the PC or the Mac. So it makes running a meeting a lot easier. So now I'm sharing the screen that I have my PowerPoint slides up on. Everyone at the San Diego Community College District, indeed in any community college district in the state of California, can acquire a free Zoom Pro account. Zoom is very generous with free accounts. Anyone can get one of those, but they do have some limitations. Notably, you can't have a meeting that runs for 40 minutes. You may say that doesn't sound like a limitation. That sounds like a feature. But in order to placate those who like to run their meetings longer, it's wonderful to have a professional Zoom account, which is intended for use in business and in education. And just by webbing to this URL right here, Confer Zoom, right now, this is how you would get one of these accounts. You can web to conferzoom.org. Very simple URL to remember. Brings up this website, and there's a sign up button. You then fill out a form that pops up. Be sure, when prompted for an email, that you use your district email account. Otherwise, they won't give you the Zoom Pro account. That's how you identify yourself as being eligible for this. And then you can type in the college or the district from which you're coming, your classification, your staff, faculty, whomever, or administrator, doesn't matter. They'll give you an account in any of those cases. And then a phone number, and then just click sign up. And within an hour or two, you'll have a Zoom Pro account. This is about to change. We are about to acquire control of our own Zoom Pro accounts that are provided by the state chancellor's office. They want us to manage them now. They got tired of managing everyone's account in the entire state system. So this will change a bit. Once we pass July 1st this year, everyone at the district is automatically going to get a Zoom Pro account. They'll be, as they're onboarded, they'll get their Zoom Pro account and their access credentials therefore. So this is something you would need to do if you haven't got a Zoom Pro account right now and you'd like to have one before July 1st, which certainly we would recommend that you do. Because, as we'll hope to convince you today, they're really, really useful. So we're going to do a quick run through now of how to originate your own Zoom meetings. I know you've all attended a million Zoom meetings over the last 2.5 years. It's become a fact of life since the pandemic began. So what I'm going to be focusing on today more than anything else is how to run your own Zoom meetings, how to start and populate and run your own Zoom meetings, because there's no reason you shouldn't be able to do that as well. There's several ways to get a Zoom meeting started. One is to schedule a meeting in advance. You don't have to do that, but it's certainly useful. All right, to show you how to do that, I'm going to bring up the Zoom website. It's zoom.us, easiest URL on the entire internet to remember. Just type that in the address line on any web browser and press enter, and you'll go to the Zoom corporate website. And this is true no matter who provides your Zoom accounts. This is the mothership for all Zoom accounts. To access your account there, if you're not already logged in, as I am here, let me log out. To access your own account, there's a sign-in button on the Zoom website. If you click that, you can enter the email address associated with your Zoom account, which again, in the case of these free Zoom Pro accounts, should be your SDCCD.edu account, or your email address, and then the password associated with the account that you're provided with when the account is created. Then you just sign in. And you're automatically dropped into the meetings page of your Zoom account management screens. And right over here, hard to miss, is schedule a meeting. You click that button and you get a form that you fill out. You can name the meeting, my meeting being the default. You can decide when the meeting is going to occur by just setting a date and time when the meeting will begin. You can set an approximate duration, but this is not mandatory or enforced. If you set the meeting for an hour and you go an hour and 10 minutes, Zoom's not going to shut you off. You can make meetings recurring. If you have a meeting every day at a certain time, God help you, or every week on Wednesday or something like that, you can set those up. And by default, Zoom will generate a meeting ID automatically. We'll talk about the implications of that in a minute. So I'm going to set one up for today at noon, duration 1 hour. I'll let it automatically generate a meeting ID. I can set security options if I wish. I generally don't care to. You've heard a lot about Zoom bombing over the last few years. It's happened to me once out of the hundreds and thousands, actually, of Zoom meetings I've originated in the last 2 years. It's happened to me exactly once. And then I'll save that meeting, and it is now scheduled. So that's how you schedule a meeting. Not much to it. When it's time for the meeting to begin, you can come back here and start it as well using this button right here. You can also do what's called an instant meeting from your website. You can just click this button right here that says host and start a meeting right away. So you don't have to schedule meetings in advance. You can just warn everyone that you're going to have a meeting running at a certain time, and then you can just go bring up the website and click host. You can also do this from your Zoom web client, or your Zoom desktop client, I should say. This is a little program that's downloaded the first time you ever attend a Zoom meeting. And it's installed on your computer automatically. You don't even know it's happened. You can also start meetings from here. Since I'm in a meeting, my client knows that, and I can just click here to return to the meeting if I needed to. But when the client is not in a meeting, it looks like this. And you have a little new meeting button here, and you can just click on that and start a meeting at any time, just as you can do it from the website. So that's 3 different ways you can start a Zoom meeting and schedule it in advance should you care to do so. The trick then becomes getting your attendees into the meeting with you. And this is the one point of failure for Zoom that crops up fairly frequently. Zoom is an amazingly reliable and robust service. That's been its primary virtue for many years. But the one point of failure is you ending up in one Zoom meeting and your attendees ending up in another. And that will happen to everybody at some point in time. But there are ways you can minimize that probability. If you have scheduled a meeting, like this one here, you will get an invite link for that meeting. It just gets automatically created when you schedule the meeting. It is unique to that meeting. And all you have to do to get your attendees in the right room in the right time with you is to copy that to your clipboard. Actually, they even give you a little button over here. If you click that, that copies this link and other information to your clipboard. Or you can just highlight the link itself and copy that to your clipboard, paste that into an email and send it to your attendees. Or you can paste that into a link on a website or in Canvas if you happen to also be an instructor, and provide that link to your attendees in any of those ways. Then all the attendee has to do is click on that link and they go right into the meeting. So there's no chance of them ending up in the wrong place. You can also use what's called your personal meeting room. There's some debate about this. You're in my personal meeting room right now. I always use my personal meeting room because the access information for that never changes. Wait, you say, well, someone could get in who wasn't supposed to be in the meeting. You know, I haven't found that to be a real problem. People don't usually try to break into meetings that they're not invited to. It's hard enough to get them to show up when they're supposed to. It does slightly increase the chance of Zoom bombing, of people breaking into your meeting and being disruptive. Like I say, thousands of meetings, one time that's happened to me. And it was pretty minor when I had a visit from Professor Hanky Panky in one session. I have my suspicions, but I haven't been able to track down the professor yet. But if we go to our Zoom account management screens here and go to the meetings link, there is a personal room listed in those tabs across the top here. If you select that, you get the invite link for your personal room. I do have a passcode set on that for reasons I won't go into right now. But I'm afraid to take it off because there'd be too much confusion. But here's the invite link for my personal meeting room. That never changes. So I can send that out to people and they can keep it and bookmark it somewhere, or just keep a copy of it in a document or something. So they always know how to get into my meetings. So I rarely have a situation where someone can't get into to a scheduled meeting or a meeting that I've set up, because the link never changes. I like doing it that way. It eliminates, again, the almost all probability of someone ending up in the wrong Zoom meeting room and not being able to access your meeting. So, and also from this personal meeting room, you can start a meeting as well. If you're not in a meeting, there'll be a button here that says Start Meeting. So those are all ways that you can start a meeting and get the people whom you want to be attending it in. with very little likelihood of hitting Zoom's primary train wreck. So let's say you've got a meeting running like we do here today, and there are a bunch of interested people there. There's still 23 of you in here. I can't believe it. I haven't been able to run anybody off yet. That's better than average for me. So let's go through and take a look at how you as the host run a Zoom meeting. So what tools are available to you, what capabilities you have, and maybe along the way we'll see some fun features of Zoom as well. And let me make absolutely certain you are seeing. Yep, you are. That's good. Okay, so first, let's look at the audio controls. And I'll prepare to be teased again about the number of microphones I have attached to my computer. I'll do that again by sharing my actual Zoom screen with you so that you can see what I'm seeing in front of me here. When I do this, my motion may get a little choppy because we're recycling this video a couple of different times before it gets to you, but it usually works fine. All right, of course, the basic audio control is muting yourself. If you click on the microphone button, you'll get a red slash through it. And then if I unmute myself, you can hear me again. Basic stuff, but critical to know how to do that, both as a host and as a participant. If you have multiple microphones attached to your computer, or if one stops working, you can pick another. This is my nice podcasting microphone that I use for most of my sessions, but I should be able to pick the microphone in the, let's say I want to pick something here that I know is working and is hooked up right now. Okay, now I'm using the microphone in my little webcam that I'm using right now. So I can switch back and forth between those at will. I can also, if I have multiple speakers or multiple output devices, I can select among those. Quite importantly, I can test my microphone and speaker to make sure it's working before the meeting. Yep, I'm hearing that. Check, 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 check. Everything's working. Comforting to know that you are in fact sending audio. You can use telephone audio in Zoom. That's not something I'm going to spend a lot of time on, but that is an option. And you also have audio settings that we're not going to worry too much about right now. Alrighty. Let's go back to the PowerPoint slide and talk about video controls. And I can switch these screen shares lickety-split, click, click, click. I can, of course, turn my video off. I'm being Boris today. That's the profile image I've uploaded to my Zoom account. If I start my video again, here I am. Question we often get is, wait a minute, I'm in a meeting. Sometimes when I'm in a meeting and I turn off my video, people can't see my profile image that I've uploaded to Zoom. The secret there is that you need to be logged in to Zoom on the website, into your Zoom account, on the website and in your Zoom client. Right here, in order to be sure that your profile image is going to show up. That's a question we often get. We also have this video selection menu. I have a bunch of video sources here, but I don't want to use those just indiscriminately yet because of something else I'm going to try here in a couple of minutes. So I'm going to pick one called my Epoch Cam camera. Okay, the three little dancing dots are certainly entertaining, but that's not the point here. I've picked up my smartphone and I'm running an app on the smartphone called Epoch Cam. And if everything goes as it planned, looks like it did, now I'm using my cell phone, my iPhone in this case, though it works with Android. The Epoch Cam will work with Android phones as well. So I can use my smartphone as a webcam. And in fact, the camera in the smartphone is probably a lot better than the camera in most webcams. So this is a great thing to do if you don't want to spend the money on an external webcam for your desktop computer. If you're doing Zoom from a desktop computer, you can always use your cell phone as a webcam. This works over wireless, or you can plug the phone into the computer using the USB cable from the phone and use it that way. And this has all kinds of controls. You can mirror and you can switch the cameras on your phone. Remember, I was talking about multiple monitors a little while ago. There's my setup. I've got 4 monitors on this system, which makes running Zoom meetings so much easier. So this is another little trick that you can use. Epoch Cam is there's a free version of it, but the quality sucks. I think the pro version's like $7 or $8, and you can get full capability from your smartphone. Now I'm going to switch back to my actual little webcam here. You could see me do that. So that's all there is to switching between video sources. So you can use Zoom kind of like a studio switcher, like they have in the network trailer on Monday Night Football. And you can show all sorts of different video feeds from different cameras during your Zoom meetings if you really want to get fancy. All right, let's go back to the virtual backgrounds. Now we get some of the fun stuff. You can get tired of being in the same old place in a Zoom meeting, or appearing to be in the same old place in a Zoom meeting. Zoom gives you the capability to appear to be anywhere. Virtual backgrounds are available in all Zoom accounts. To utilize them, we'll go, let me share my Zoom screen again. And we'll go to the video options menu here. Click on the little up caret, which provides us with our video settings menu. And we have an option to choose virtual backgrounds. That brings up our virtual background settings screen from our Zoom client. And I can pick, and Zoom, generally the Zoom client comes with a limited number of virtual backgrounds that you can use, like the Golden Gate Bridge, everybody's favorite. These virtual backgrounds can be still images, or there can be little video loops. The wafting palm tree, you've seen that a few times in meetings. And these virtual backgrounds can be unbelievable. Well, the video associated with this can be unbelievably crisp with you floating over the virtual background. This uses a technique called chroma key. And there's a chroma key capability built into Zoom, which is phenomenally good. However, it's a lot better if you have a green screen behind you, as I do. this is something you may well want to consider if you do a lot of originating or if you just attend a lot of Zoom meetings and you want your Zoom virtual background to look good instead of something like this. Right now, if I move around, well, actually, it's doing pretty well today. But you've all seen people using Zoom virtual backgrounds in Zoom where they tend to merge in and out of the screen, and sometimes you can see them, sometimes you can't. And as they move, you see black space behind them and so on. It looks like a bad science fiction movie. Well, the key to that is both having a green screen and telling Zoom that you have a green screen here in the virtual backgrounds menu. You can use the virtual backgrounds that come with Zoom, or you can load your own. There, fit in there, right? Add myself to Mount Rushmore there. So all sorts of fun stuff and useful stuff as well, especially instructionally. I can put myself in front of like a slide from and in this case, a slide from an anatomy textbook. And I can interact with it in real time. And I can, there's your kidney right there. And there's your lungs. And there you see and all that and so on. They're just endless fun and useful, useful stuff or useful capability associated with virtual backgrounds. I'm going to show you another way to get virtual backgrounds is even more fun here in a minute. And of course, I can go in at any time and turn that off just by clicking none. I can always just use the blur, which is a favorite one, which just prevents your messy room from showing behind you. All right. There are also virtual backgrounds called immersive backgrounds that I can utilize. Again, let me make sure you're seeing what I think you are. Yeah. I can go to the view button in the upper right-hand corner here, and I can select, if I'm not sharing my screen, I'm going to have to kill my screen share for a second, but I'm going to go to the view button. And when I'm not sharing my screen, I have an option up here in the view menu labeled immersive. So if I stop that share, now you're just seeing me regular, because I have spotlighted myself, of course, so that everybody sees me all the time, regardless of whom else might be talking. And I go to the view and I have an immersive option, and I can put us all in a classroom kind of situation. There we are. So we can see everybody at one time. It's fun. And it breaks up the monotony, and people are and people who have their cameras turned on, of course you can see. People who don't have their cameras turned on, you just see their names above the chairs. So these are fun. And again, that's in your view menu. When you're hosting the meeting yourself, that's in your view menu. And you can turn on, and there are just all sorts of different immersive backgrounds here. Here's probably the classic one. And so more fun. I'm going to go back to speaker view, stopping immersive view. Now you're seeing me again. More's the pity. All righty, let's keep rolling. Now for some real fun.
I think Natalia had a question. She had her hand up.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you.
We're going to try to keep most of those to the end. Go ahead.
Thank you. No, just I noticed that at some point you will see like the framework, the background or framework with the person or only the person. What if you only want to see the person so that it looks cleaner? Like, for example, if I have a background, when you put us as a classroom, would you see me with that background, or how can you see me without the background?
Indeed, if you are using a virtual background, I'll see your virtual background as well.
Okay.
See you with the virtual background behind you.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's cool. All right, so there is a free piece of software that you can acquire, which I'm going to run now on my computer. And set up appropriately. And I'm going to stop my screen share for a second. So you're just seeing me. What you've been seeing all along has been my little Logitech webcam, or the way you've been seeing me has been through my little Logitech webcam. But I've got a few other things up my sleeve here. I can go to my video sources menu, and I have an option in there labeled OBS Virtual Camera. OBS, or Open Broadcaster Studio, is a free video studio implemented in software. It's open source. Anyone can use it. It runs on both PC and Mac. And it allows you to do things like this. If I start the virtual camera in OBS, now, and at this point, it would be advisable, if you haven't already done so, to put yourself in speaker view. Go to the view option in the upper right-hand corner and click on speaker. Let me share my Zoom screen. You want to go up to view up here and select speaker. And now you're seeing my PowerPoint slide and me at the same time, and I appear to float over it. This does require a green screen or it won't work, but this also gives me the capability to show me in many different ways. Now I'm floating over a live picture out my back window here in Hope, Idaho. Foggy day, not the most wonderful. Or I can put myself in front of things that are not live. Like I can show you a little film I took when I was in Yellowstone National Park about a month and a half ago. Shot with my cell phone. Or when I was or this is what it looked like in Hope, Idaho on April 17th this year. Not quite San Diego up here. Or me at the confluence of the Madison and the Jefferson rivers to form the Missouri River. That's right behind me. There is where the Missouri River begins, the longest river in North America. So you can just do all sorts of cute things with OBS. I certainly don't have time to go into great detail on that, but we do offer sessions on using OBS with Zoom on a fairly regular basis, and we have extensive on-demand tutorials online available to you as well. Now I'm going to stop my virtual camera there and select and go back to my regular, for a moment, to my regular webcam. And now I'm back with you. So let's keep going. Actually, come to think of it, there's probably no reason to do that. We'll just go back to OBS, and I'll use that from here on out to get an idea of how functional that can be. But I'll share my PowerPoint slide with you at the same time. So this way I don't have to keep switching my screen shares back and forth. The next icon we want to look at on the Zoom menu is the security icon. This is what allows you to deal with a Zoom bombing in case it should occur. If I click that little shield icon in my Zoom in, and actually I need to be sharing my Zoom screen for you to see that. If I click the security icon, there are all sorts of participant activities I can allow and disallow. Like right now, no one else can share their screen, which is a classic Zoom bombing technique, but I can turn that on. You can't share your screen while I'm sharing mine, so I don't have to worry too much about
Can I
that
ask a
right now.
question?
Yes,
Can I ask a question?
surely.
I'm sorry. So yeah, I was just curious. I saw you next to your PowerPoint, but you look kind of small. Is it possible to stretch those pictures? A portion of those pictures.
Were you in gallery view? Were you seeing everyone?
No, I was in speaker view. So I could see my point is I could see your PowerPoint, but you were tiny in comparison.
Oh, right.
So like as a deaf person, you know, if I have a deaf person on screen,
I
I
see
would
what
rather
you're
have
saying.
them look larger. You understand?
No, you can't do that, but you can point that out to me and I can fix that in OBS.
Yeah,
Obviously.
exactly. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can do that. That's awesome. Okay, thank you.
I can do it.
Thank you so much.
You can't, but I can. And a very reasonable request. And as long as I'm not obscuring something we really need to see, I'm good. Okay. Great question.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Also,
but how did you do that?
Through Open Broadcaster Studio. And I'll have to stick with that right now, because if I go down that rabbit hole, we will not finish because I'm all too tempted to. But
That's
if you want to
fine.
hang around afterwards, I'll give you more information about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
You also, on the security icon, something good to know, have a panic button. If somebody does get into your meeting to start disrupting it, you've got this red button at the bottom that says suspend participant activities. And that basically shuts off. People can still see and hear you, and you can still share your screen and so on, but they can't do anything themselves. So they can't chat, they can't share their screens, they can't rename themselves, unmute themselves, start video or draw on your shared screens. This turns all of this off, and then you can regain control and move on. Good thing to know. I do know people who have been Zoom bombed and have had a bad time with it. So Zoom's giving you a panic button to shut everything down if that should happen. Your participants menu tells you who's in your meeting. Also allows you to that's me. I can't kick myself out, but it allows you to do things like remove them and report them to Zoom if you have to. Hopefully that won't be necessary. So the participants menu is a handy tool. Also, this is where your mute all button is. So if you have a large meeting like this one, where background noise would build up and it'd be very difficult for everyone to hear, if everyone's mics were open at one time, you can just click mute all, and you can choose to allow participants to unmute themselves. And if I say yes, then everybody would be muted. It seems fine right now, so I'm not going to do that, but that's how you mute all, and that's a critical skill for a host to know how to do. I'm not going to worry about polls today. The chat tool is an essential. It allows people to pass notes in class or to have private conversations during a meeting. You can send messages to individuals or to everyone in the meeting by default. And like if you want to know where to find our online tutorials, I can put the URL for that in there. Goes into the chat tool. I just type it in, press enter, goes into the chat tool, and everyone can see it. And indeed, it pops up a little message on your screen showing you the chat message for a second at least, so you can do something about it. So the chat tool is a wonderful back channel for private conversations or back channel conversations during a meeting that don't have to disturb anyone. The share screen button with pride of place in the middle of the Zoom control menus is a tremendous tool. Of course, it's the primary go-to tool in most meeting situations where you want to share things with people. I'm sharing my Zoom screen with you right now. I share screen by clicking on the green button, and I get this preparatory window here that allows me to pick what I want to share. I can share any of the content of any of the monitors on my system. You may only have one screen, but even if you have multiples, you can share, you can pick the one you want to share and share my OBS screen with you there. Now you're seeing Open Broadcaster Studio. And I can do that. Now I can get my Zoom screen shared with you again. So it's very quick and easy to do. And it's one of the primary superpowers of Zoom. People can see this a lot better than they can see you projecting your computer image on the wall in a meeting room. So this is what makes Zoom a really powerful meeting tool. Of course, we have the ability to record Zoom meetings, which I'm doing right now. I can record either to my local computer, and so that I end up with a video file on my hard drive, or to the Zoom cloud with a Zoom Pro account. And those recordings are stored for you. They're put online for you automatically. It's very simple to record to the cloud. When the recording is ready to be viewed, Zoom will send you an email and tell you that it is, and send you the link to that recording so you can share it with the people who attended the meeting, or perhaps the poor person who has to take the minutes of the meeting so they can go back through the meeting and figure out who actually said what. The Zoom recordings are also automatically in the cloud, are automatically captioned, and captioned quite well, so that you can send this to someone who is hearing impaired or whose primary language is not English. And they can turn the captions on when they're watching the recording and see what was said as well as hear it. So tremendous recording capability in Zoom, all accessed through a record button in the host menus, which is just a little round button that you click on. What you're seeing here are the recording controls that I have as the host when I am recording. And I can pause a recording or stop it at any time. So if I need to say something that I don't want recorded, I can pause the recording, say something that would otherwise get me in trouble, perhaps, and then continue. I'll eschew that today, since my boss is sitting there in the meeting. We've already talked about live transcription. Breakout rooms. I was specifically asked to show you breakout rooms. I want to do that. Breakout rooms allow you to break the meeting up into little sub-meetings. The virtual equivalent of rearranging the furniture in the room into little discussion groups. So you can work on group projects and then come back at the end and report. Or I can't show you everything about breakout rooms, but I can show you how simple it can be to create them. As a host in a Zoom Pro account, you'll have this little breakout rooms icon. You just click on that, and you can let Zoom assign people to the rooms automatically. That's the simplest way to do it. You can choose how many breakout rooms you want. We have 24 people in here. If I want 8 people in a room, it'd be 3 rooms, right? Well, let's keep it, let's create 4 rooms. And all I have to do then is hit create. That randomly assorts people among the rooms, but I haven't opened them yet. You're still seeing and hearing me. I have options. I can allow participants to return to the main room at any time. I don't like to do that. I want to send you there. I want to keep you there, but that's up to you until I close the rooms later. And if I check automatically move all assigned participants, then you're going to go. You don't have any choice about it. Control freak much? I can have them close automatically after a certain period of time if I'm going to haul buggy and go get a snack and leave you to your devices. So those are some options I have. When I open the rooms, you'll all go to your own breakout rooms and you can talk to one another. Since I have, I've turned on screen sharing for participants in this meeting. You can share your screens and things like that. I'm just going to do this for a minute because we have a couple other things I want to look at here. But I'm going to open the rooms now. You'll see what that looks like. And back you come. Those of you who we're now back in the main room. Those of you who didn't take advantage of that to run screaming into the night, which is always a danger with breakout rooms. People can certainly leave the meeting. They just can't come back to the main room on their own if you set that option. But once in the main room, they can communicate effectively. Or once in their breakout rooms, they can communicate in small groups, and very useful feature in Zoom and not difficult to use. Oh, something that is coming up. Oh, we've done all this. I guess I'm a little behind here, aren't I? Reactions. I see many of you using the reactions already. They are, of course, the little things like thumbs up, applause. That's always nice. You can raise your hand and hope that the host is paying attention or lower it later. And you can express surprise. You have a whole range of emojis that you can use. Embarrassment or anger. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Didn't want that one. How about that? So fun stuff to play with. Zoom apps are something that we're going to have access to now. Well, once our Zoom accounts are migrated to our own control. And there are just a ton of them. One I'll show you that I have set here is my virtual backgrounds app. And this is the best way to do virtual backgrounds. I'm going to go back to my webcam so that this will look better. This little app has just dozens upon dozens and dozens and dozens of free virtual backgrounds. There's nature, art. I can put myself, that's Santa Sofia in Istanbul. If I click that, I can set that as my virtual background. Boom. Cool. There are all sorts of Zoom apps. And we have a marvelous administrator now, and we will have a marvelous administrator after July 1st, who is very responsive in approving Zoom apps. If there's an app that is not pre-approved, you can always request it. And as long as there's not some red flag on that app, our wonderful administrator who's in this meeting will be able to allow you to load that app. And this is just a little illustration of that. Right. And I can close that panel. And that pretty much takes us through very quickly. You can also live stream from Zoom. Our Zoom Pro accounts have allow us to have up to 300 people in our meetings. But there were actually times back in early 2020 when that wasn't enough sometimes. You can also live stream for free on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, which is very much in the news right now. But these are all free services. This gives you a URL that you can send to people, and any number of people worldwide can see and hear what's going on in your Zoom meeting. So that pretty much covers the vast majority of the capabilities of Zoom. We've had some good questions already. I'll be happy to entertain any others, and I'm always happy to stay with you as long as you have questions. So fire away.
I have a question.
Great.
Related to the. Okay.
Please go ahead.
So for the OBS, do I have to download the OBS?
Yes.
Is that software?
It's software. Let me share that, show you what it looks like. Here's the OBS control panel. This is obviously the output window. And there's a feature called the Zoom virtual camera, or the OBS virtual camera, that sends your output to Zoom. And that you just choose OBS as your video source for Zoom. And whatever you see in this window is also sent to your attendees. This is accessed at and let me make myself a little smaller now. It's not a great look for me to cover up that much of the screen. You can access this at obsproject.com.
You download that from there?
You download it and install it from there. And from there, what I recommend is going to our on-demand, open on-demand website at SDCCD.org. I put that in the chat tool earlier. And one of the featured videos, if I wait for this little slideshow to move, is using Open Broadcaster Software Studio. This is a series of tutorials that starts with getting and installing OBS and configuring it for use with Zoom.
So I'm sorry, could you give me that website again? I missed it. I don't see it in the chat.
Sure
I'm
can.
so sorry.
No, not at all. It is OBS Project, all one word, .com. And you can start today and not spend a dime. And you can do some pretty cute stuff in Zoom meetings. And particularly when you need to do things like make someone's lips large enough to see, things like that. And again, some of the tricks I've shown you with OBS do require a green screen, but that's not a terrible imposition, because you can go to Amazon or a variety of other places, and you can search for green screens.
Yeah, I have a green screen, yeah.
Oh, well, you're cool. But I mean, you can have a green screen for under $20.
You have to have them.
Just by You can just get a green drop and you can hang it up with a couple of thumbtacks on a wall or some, I've hung mine up over a window with painter's tape and things like that. A nice permanent installation is good if you have an office at home or at work where you can put one up permanently. I'm fortunate enough to have that here, but it does make things simpler, but certainly you can do that, or you can get things like this pop-up, which is a bit more expensive, but is very, very high quality.
I actually have the pop-up one. Yeah, very cool. Thank you.
You bet. Did I answer all your questions on that?
Yeah, you did. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah, you've answered all my questions.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
How about some more questions? Still got 11 of us here. My goodness. Just unmute yourself and speak up. Don't stand on ceremony, please. I'm not worthy of ceremony. Forget which camera I'm looking at. Sorry about that. Not trying to be shifty. I've got about several cameras in operation here. Gosh, I answered all your questions. Must be better than I think I am. Nah, ain't likely. One of the best things about OBS and Zoom, thanks for coming, Jessica, is that it makes it much easier for me to, as the host, to know what you're seeing. Because what I see is what you're seeing when I'm using OBS. If I'm sharing my screen in Zoom, that's not necessarily the case. And it's easy to get confused about what you're sharing with your attendees and get really embarrassed. You're blathering on about something that they can't see until finally one of them speaks up. Dave, we can't see that. I've heard that a few times. Oh, oh my. Oh gosh. Whoa. My computer just acted up again. I think I'm lucky to be getting out of this at this moment. Sorry about the black screens there for a second. I think I kicked a wire when I was moving around. Anything else I can help with?
I don't have anything. Thank you so much. This was
thanks
really
for coming. Well, I hope you found it useful.
Yeah, very useful. Thank you.
And I'm going to put one more time, put my email address in there in case somebody came in late. Always happy to hear from you.
Take care.
Take care, everyone. Enjoyed it.
Thank you.